Konnichiwa! It is time for a quick and hopefully helpful kanji lesson. I'm just going to give maybe 3 or 4 tips, hopefully not talk about them too much, and if you have questions about it, maybe I can elaborate later. But tip number 1, this is my favorite and best way for learning kanji, flashcards. Even for the hiragana and katakana, I was able to learn the katakana in an afternoon because of flashcards. It's best if you can make them on your own, but if you are like me and don't have time anymore, then go and buy them. These are Tuttle flashcards, very useful. They've got index number, the kanji, how many strokes, 4 compounds, radicals of which the kanji consist, and their little meanings, for example, disease in third. And then if you want, you can look up somewhere else. I'll tell you later on the history. If you understand these things, they are for dictionaries. Very, I guess, popular or common Japanese kanji dictionaries. And on the back has readings and, oh my gosh, what's it called? Definitions, readings and meanings. The capitalized readings are the onyomi, and the ones in lowercase are the kunyomi. For those of you who don't know, Chinese readings, big letters, Chinese readings, little letters, Japanese readings. Then how to say the 4 different compounds and the meanings of the 4 different compounds. And finally, best of all, the stroke order of the kanji. These are the Tuttle cards. I don't know if every card is like that, but any card that's good should have most of these components. One of the most important is stroke order, which leads to tip number 2. Learn the correct stroke order for every kanji when you're learning it. Do not try to learn a kanji without knowing how to. Do not try to learn how to write a kanji without knowing how to write it. So for that, I would suggest this series. There's only 2 books in the series, but A Guide to Writing Kanji and Kana. The second book's black and much smaller. This is a huge size. The second one's like here, I don't know, smaller. But in this book, it has the hiragana, katakana, and 600 some kanji, I believe. But for the kanji and the hiragana and katakana, it not only gives you the stroke order, but it tells you where to start each stroke. Because sometimes when you've got a kanji that has lines, like the first line is kind of slanted like this, and the second line is down like this, and then there's a line, this one would be san or chi. The first line, you start at the top of the slant and go down, but the second line, you start here and go across, and then you go down. Some people might want to draw uphill and then go back down and go across again and then down. And yes, the kanji would look correct, but if like a sensei were over your shoulder watching you draw, they would say, no, that's wrong. You need to draw it correctly. So, tip number 2, learn how to draw them correctly. Tip number 3, I don't know if this is a tip or what it would be considered, but is something related to this book. Other people have talked about this book, and I usually hear bad things about this book, A Guide to Remembering Japanese Characters, and I understand the criticisms of it. This book is, what it does is it gives you the kanji, readings, definitions, stroke order, 3 compounds, the history, and then a mnemonic device. And most of the criticisms that I can remember at this point have to do with like the way to remember them, the mnemonic devices. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. I do not like the mnemonic devices. However, I like the history behind the kanji. Oftentimes, if I've read the history of a kanji that I'm learning, then for some reason it's easier to remember, especially the meaning. The readings might not be as easy to remember, but at least I know what it means. When you're beginning, I would say that the meaning is more important than the reading. Later on, oh, excuse me. Later on, yes, of course, the reading is very, very important, and from the beginning you should study that. But if you find as you're going through and you're like, oh, I know that kanji, oh, it means this, but I can't remember how to say it, then that's a good thing. At least you are getting a basis for everything. Later on, the readings can follow, but as long as you're getting the meaning of the kanji, then don't get discouraged. But so this book, I really enjoy reading the history behind each kanji because usually it's interesting and it helps me out. And tip number 3, write them over and over again. It takes a lot of time, but it's the only way you can remember. The Japanese, when they're learning them, they write them over and over again. They get homework where you just repeat the kanji, you write it over and over again. And even when they're just studying in school, if there's new kanji, they'll just sit and write them in the, what do you call those things? The sides of your paper, not the main part where you actually write, but just the margins. So, I think that's all I will give the tips about. Flashcards, learn how to write them, especially the stroke order and where the strokes start. Review the history if you want to easily remember, if that helps you. And just repetition. In Latin, repetitio est mater studiorum. Repetition is the mother of studying, of remembering, and it will help. Perhaps a final tip is when you're done and you're distressed, have a snack. If you can get Japanese snacks, that's great. These I found in the supermarket. And I don't really know what the pink one is, but it's really, really good. It's got I think it's powdered sugar or something like that. And inside it's just solid. There's like nothing. But it tastes really nice. I don't really know what it is, just a mochi treat. So, treat yourself to nice ice cream. I think that's all I'll do today. Hopefully this is short because I have no clue how long it is. And hopefully that helps a little bit. Just ganbatte kudasai. Just keep at it. Just work, work, work. You got to want to know the kanji to learn the kanji. Bye-bye.